Hello friends. As you know, the Russia-Ukraine crisis has been dominating the headlines. Meanwhile, in light of the worsening situation, an emergency session was convened by the United Nations where members voted against Russia's aggression. While a majority of the countries voted against Russia, 35 nations abstained from voting. One of them was India. By not casting its vote in the face of resounding condemnation of Russia's action, India proved that it is a strong supporter of Russia. India's stand today naturally upsets many Western leaders. India has also come under heavy criticism because despite being a developing country, it has considerable influence over international matters, and therefore its vote against Russia would have carried a lot of importance. But why did India not support Russia? Friends, did you know that while Russia is one of India's crucial defense partner, it has no often used its veto to vote in favor of India at the United Nations Security Council or UNSC? Yes, since 1957, Russia has used its veto power on a total of 6 occasions to block UN resolutions against India. What were these resolutions against which Russia used its veto? And how did the exercise of Russia's veto help India in those crucial situations? Friends, in today's video, we will discuss these questions and understand how the former USSR stood in support of India. So let's get started. First, we will look at United Nations Security Council and its veto. United Nations Security Council or UNSC is one of the 6 major units of the United Nations. The Security Council has 15 members, including 5 permanent members: China, France, Russia, United Kingdom, and United States of America. The other 10 members are elected on a regional basis for a term of 2 years. UNSC works to maintain international peace and security. It includes conducting peacekeeping operations, issuing international sanctions, and authorizing military actions. UNSC's resolutions are binding on all the UN members, which means that if the majority of the members at UNSC vote in favor of a resolution, then all members have to accept the decision. Moreover, permanent members have the power to veto any substantive resolution. But what exactly is a veto? So veto is a Latin word that means I forbid. By exercising their veto power, any permanent member of the UNSC can stall any major resolution. In case a permanent member applies its veto power, the resolution collapses. Therefore, experts consider the veto power to be quite controversial. Those supporting veto argue that it promotes international stability, checks military interventions, and is a bulwark against US hegemony. On the other hand, critics of veto claim that it is the most undemocratic element of the UN. Moreover, it is the primary reason behind the lack of any action when it comes to war crimes and human rights violation. This is because the veto enables permanent members to prevent any action from being taken against their allies. Anyway, this is the veto power that Russia used between the 1950s and the 1970s to stall UNSC resolution against India. So what were these resolutions and why were they initiated? Let's look at this in our next section. Friends, in December 1947, after the war between India and Pakistan, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru took the Kashmir issue to the UN under Article 35 in order to secure peace and prevent any further escalation of conflict. India asked for a resolution on this issue on 1st January 1948. For this, the UNSC set up a United Nations Commission for India and Pakistan. However, the UNCIP failed to come up with a concrete solution, and tension between India and Pakistan grew. Later, again in 1957, Pakistan raised the Kashmir issue at UNSC. The immediate cause for this was India's adoption for the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir in November 1956, which said that Jammu and Kashmir is an integral part of the Union of India and will remain so. In 1957, UNSC initiated resolutions regarding the Kashmir dispute thrice. On February 20, 1957, Australia, Cuba, UK, and USA brought forth a resolution arguing the president of the UNSC to sort things out between India and Pakistan. One of the proposals was that both the nations be persuaded to withdraw their troops from the contested areas. Another was that the UN troops be temporarily stationed in Kashmir. Soviet Union vetoed this proposal and did not allow the resolution to be passed. What we need to know is, how did this veto help India? Actually, no guarantees were given to India that once it withdrew its troops, there would be no militant attacks. Moreover, there was no assurance that once India withdrew its troops, Pakistan would do the same. Further, if UN had stationed its troops in Kashmir, the issue would have been buried under the chaos of international politics and India would get nothing substantial out of it. Hence, Russia's veto was beneficial for India. Soviet Union used its veto power for India again in 1961. Former Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru had hoped that under pressure from the popular movement in Goa and public opinion worldwide, the Goan Portuguese authorities would finally grant independence to Goa. However, there was no freedom in sight, leading Nehru to launch Operation Vijay, under which India would use its force to get Goa and Daman and Diu back to its fold. In December 1961, for almost 36 hours, air, sea, and land strikes continued, ultimately forcing Portugal to end its 451-year rule over Goa and Daman and Diu. That same year, on December 18, Portugal requested a debate over the Goa conflict at the UNSC. After the debate, Liberia, Ceylon, and the United Arab Republic proposed that Portugal's claim over territories in India was a threat to international peace and the unity of India. The resolution asked the Security Council to not accept the accusations made by Portugal against India. Moreover, it argued Portugal to end its hostile action. What was surprising was that 7 members opposed his resolution with the exception of the Soviet Union. The resolution ultimately failed because of the opposition by the majority. After that, France, Turkey, UK, and USA presented another resolution which said that firstly, the war should be brought to an end. Secondly, India should withdraw its troops according to the situation prior to 17th December 1961. And thirdly, India and Portugal should peacefully look for a permanent solution under the UN Charter. This resolution was supported by 7 members, which meant that it could have been passed. However, USSR used its veto power to stall the resolution. Friends, it is quite likely that had the resolution been passed, Goa and Daman and Diu would still be under Portuguese rule. As far as adopting a peaceful means was concerned, India had been waiting for 14 years since independence for the Portuguese to set Goa free. India had to finally use its force when the Portuguese seemed unrelenting. In fact, while debating at the UNSC, Soviet ambassador Valerian Zorin had even said that the supporters of Portugal were not in the favor of UN, but in the favor of colonialism, which was the most shameful event of the 20th century. The Kashmir issue was again raised at UNSC in 1962. It was the third time that the Soviet Union used its veto in favor of India. On 1st January 1962, Pakistan requested UNSC for a meeting regarding Kashmir. However, India said that no such meeting was required. Anyway, UNSC conducted a discussion on the India-Pakistan question on 1st February 1962. More such meetings were held between 27th April and 22nd June 1962. On 22nd June 1962, with America's support, Ireland placed a resolution in front of the Security Council arguing the governments of India and Pakistan to resolve the dispute between their nations. It called for facilitating an atmosphere where an agreement could be reached through talks. USSR imposed its veto power to defeat the resolution. Friends, India had no issues initiating a dialogue, but India also knew that no immediate solution would emerge out of the proposed dialogues, which would keep dragging. It could lead to losses for India. Moreover, at that time, Pakistan enjoyed the support of Western powers and was always looking for ways to oppose India. Soviet Union's veto was beneficial for India in that it did not allow the Kashmir issue to be brought to the altar of international politics. Soviet Union used 3 more vetoes in 1971, when India was supporting Bangladesh in the latest liberation war against Pakistan. After the partition of India, Bangladesh became a part of Pakistan and was known as East Pakistan. Since 1971, however, East Pakistan had been trying to establish itself as an independent nation. When the Bengali party, Awami League, won the general elections of Pakistan, President Yahya Khan was furious and ordered Operation Searchlight against East Pakistan on 25th March 1971. Lakhs of people from East Pakistan fled their country and took shelter in India, mainly in West Bengal. It is to be noted that it had only been 24 years that India had become a free country, and it already had a major refugee crisis to deal with. Poor sanitation and food shortages plagued the refugee camps. The Indian government realized that it had to go to war with the Pakistani. India decided that it would support Bangladeshi forces in their freedom struggle so that the refugees would get to return safely to their homeland. At that time, Pakistan and USA enjoyed great relations and therefore USA supported Pakistan with military assistance. India did not have a strong ally to help it during the war. It was then that the Soviet Union, which had already helped India at the UN with its veto, stepped in again as India's partner. On 9th August 1971, Russia and India signed the Treaty of Peace, Friendship and Cooperation that heavily impacted the 1971 war. The first resolution at UNSC regarding the India-Pakistan 1971 war was presented by USA on 4th December 1971. America proposed a ceasefire along the India-Pakistan border, which was voted out by the Soviet Union. On 5th December 1971, UNSC members again proposed a resolution demanding a ceasefire for the safe return of the refugees. A few days later, on 3rd December 1971, a resolution sponsored by USA urged the governments of India and Pakistan to withdraw their respective troops. Russia again used its veto power to stall the resolution. This was a respite for India, which was able to defeat Pakistan on 16th December 1971. Friends, it is interesting to note that it was the US that was supporting Pakistan and also representing the resolutions at UNSC. Had India agreed to the ceasefire, there was no guarantee either of Pakistan pulling back its troop or the US withdrawing its support. Today, India's decision to abstain from voting against Russia was not taken under pressure or fear. This was in fact a decision that was taken after a lot of consideration. Former Soviet Union and present-day Russia has always been mindful of India's interest at the UNSC and has not shied away from using its veto in India's favor. It has also been railing for India's permanent seat at the UNSC. So friends, this was a case study regarding the use of veto power in support of India from USSR or Russia. Also, this video is quite relevant from the perspective of UPSC mains examination, and questions on Russia and UNSC could be expected in the UPSC GS2 IR section. So we will leave you with a question related to this topic. You could answer it in the comment section. And the question is, Russia has been a staunch ally of India since its USSR days. Comment on that. And that's it for the video. I hope you have liked the video, and if you have, don't forget to share it with your friends. We will meet you in the next video. Till then, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.